New Radio Sports Network and 104.1 WRLU. Two games coming up this weekend as we carry Green Bay Gambler hockey on 104.1 WRLU. Both games against the Team USA U18 squad that the Green Bay Gamblers just saw on Sunday. We're joined, as we are each and every week, by the head coach of the Green Bay Gamblers, Pat Mikesch. And Coach, first of all, let's talk about the Muskegon series. And you were able to have a nice kind of a comeback. Muskegon beat you 5-2 in that first game, but then you came roaring back in that Saturday matchup, beating Muskegon 7-2. And I guess what was maybe the biggest difference between day one and day two?
Well, the first night we're coming out of that second period 1-1, and it's a great hockey game, and both teams have played well. Probably a little bit more defensive than the two teams traditionally play against each other for the first two periods. And then the third period, they kind of got the first goal, they go up 2-1. And then we had a penalty shot opportunity and missed on that a couple minutes later. And then they scored that next shift. And that took a lot of the momentum out of our bench. And they kind of got their momentum going. And so you lose a third period, you lose a game. And then but really liked our response that next day. And, guys showed up ready to play and had a great Saturday night in Muskegon where, there was parts of the game early that were tighter. And then we kind of took that game over in the second period and had a great third period for a road game.
And how encouraging is that for you that even though March, once again, not the greatest of all months, that you still saw that effort and that fight coming out of a tough Friday night loss, and were able to channel that into positive energy on Saturday?
Well, we know that, we're up against it, just about every night with the moves we made and playing with a younger lineup right now. And so it's, you've got to show up prepared though, and do things the right way. And I give our leadership a ton of the credit, because they make sure that locker room's ready to go, and the guys did respond. And I'll even say, since we've made the moves that we made, we had one bad weekend. Madison's the one weekend where I sit there and say, we just did not play to the USHL level. And, but it was a great response by our guys. I thought we could have taken Friday night's game if we get that first goal in the third period. Mm-hmm. But the respond on Saturday was great.
And now with the penalty shots, you obviously have to go with the player that the penalty was, fouled, or I guess called on.
Yeah. And, we went with, it was Cam Lund, and he had scored a breakaway goal earlier in that game, and he scored a breakaway goal Saturday night. So we talked about, as a coaching staff, we got to tell him, pretend somebody's racing after you when you have these penalty shots, because obviously a very talented player for us. And, he was disappointed he didn't score, but, he had a really nice weekend for us.
Now, you probably can't say, hey, can we just have one? Like, even if you pick one of their players, like, can you just chase him while he does this? Like, is that even the thing? Or can you at least ask it and just kind of get a weird look back? Like, no, we can't.
Yeah. They would say no. But I mean, it's funny because it's the same exact goalie that we played against both nights. And Cam had his two breakaways and made it look rather easy. And then the penalty shot one, I think a lot of players get a little nervous in that situation and try to do something that they normally won't. Like, he scored the same exact goal both times against the other goalie with his breakaway tries, but it was the player that we'd like to have that breakaway and just didn't get the penalty shot.
Then on Sunday, you headed to Plymouth, Michigan, where Team USA, the U18s, were there, and we've talked about it. I mean, they're peaking right now, going to that international tournament. What's that conversation like in the locker room after a game like that?
Well, I think the biggest thing we discussed was you need to play a great game against them. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You got to play a great game, but you can't sit back and just wait for them to come at you. And I think it was a little bit of the 3-and-3 with travel, everything like that. We didn't have the same legs that I thought their group had, and they're a great skating group as it is. And so, it'll be a great challenge for us this weekend. We know how good they are. We know how offensively gifted they are. But, if we stick with our structure, going back to the video, I think, our group as a whole could sit there and look at it and say, hey, that's correctable. And, but you're going to have to play a great game with some really good structure to compete with that group.
And, does that kind of lend into how you approach this week? Because I know, thinking out loud, you lose 10-1 and you got to see that team 5 days later. I mean, that would be a lot for me to kind of try to wrap my head around and be like, okay, how do we improve? But the fact that you looked at the tape, you see a lot of stuff that you can correct. Does that give you a little extra confidence going into this weekend and being in front of the home crowd?
Well, I think our guys are not going to, want to be embarrassed. I mean, like you could back down and just let them roll and they're going to have a lot of fun and you're not. So the best way for us to have fun is to be extremely competitive and take pride in all the things that we do when we compete against them.
And I mean, I know we talk a lot about goaltending, and that's really has been maybe the only down game that Radislav Elias has had over the last several weeks. He's been kind of a nice, if you lose on a Friday, he's been a nice kind of bounce back on a Saturday, lose on a Saturday, go back to Sunday. And he's really turned in a lot of nice performances as of late.
He has. And, that'll be the last game he plays for us for a stretch now. He's leaving to go to the under-18 World Championships to play for Slovakia. So, this will be Aaron's net for a good stretch of time here. And Rasto's a young goalie and every game is a learning opportunity for him. And he was disappointed after that Sunday performance, but, it's important for him to realize that, he's just only scratching the surface. He's a 17-year-old kid trying to play in a big boys league and he's had some great outings the second half of the year and to be 500 at this time of the year, with the experience he's gained, I think was great for him.
Now, obviously, Aaron Randazzo is a great goaltender for you as well. This has already, I believe, happened once this year, if not a couple more times. What do you do with an emergency just in case?
Yeah, with Rasto leaving, we're allowed to bring in what's called a replacement goalie, and the replacement goalie can play. Where if you have an injury, then it's an emergency goalie, and that emergency goalie can only play if your other goalie gets injured. So we brought in Cam Smith, who just finished his junior season out east and had a nice season out there. And so, I'll expect to play Cam here, and he'll get to gain some USHL experience.
Now, is that league out east? Is that lower than the USHL, or where does that kind of compare on the scheme of junior hockey?
Yeah, it is a lower level, but a lot of those players are aiming to get to the USHL. And, so Cam had a nice season out there coming out of prep school the year before. So he got that junior experience now, and he's excited about the opportunity. And he's being, recruited by colleges and everything like that. So it's a great opportunity for him to show what he can do at this level.
Very good. And once again, heading into these final weeks of the season, what's your message to your guys, as you enter this final month? I know a lot of them have those colleges already. They've already signed their name on the dotted line. Still maybe some, you're able to move up a little bit here. What's your message to your guys as you enter this final month of the season?
Well, a lot of it's about how you handle adversity. And, this team was handed some adversity and you have to play through it. And everybody's being watched, whether you're being watched for the NHL draft this year or you're being watched by your university you're already committed to see how you handle, some tougher times and how you fight through it. And I've talked to a lot of the university coaches that have kids committed to our team and they're very curious, week in and week out on, hey, how's my guy doing? Is he fighting through this? And so they're all being watched still, and they're being evaluated, and there's people taking notes on them every day because it's not just our guys who are going to be NHL draft picks that are going to be in NHL conversations to sign, and 2 or 3 years from now when they're having a great college season, it's guys who are free agents, and they're being evaluated by all these NHL scouts, night in, night out as well.
I mean, and you bring up a good point there as well, is that obviously these scouts in both college and NHL, I mean, they're obviously looking at their skill set, but, this kind of provides an opportunity for them to kind of show off that mental side of the game as well.
Exactly. Adversity doesn't stop at this level. It continues on to everywhere you go. And so it's a great learning opportunity and a chance for, people to show, hey, I'll be great during hard times as well, and that's something that every organization is looking for, as they look to their future.
Team USA, the U18s coming to Green Bay this weekend. April 1st, April 2nd, 7:05 puck drops. We'll have the coverage for you right on 1041 WRLU and newradiosportsnetwork.com. Coach, as always, we thank you so much for joining us and good luck this weekend.
I appreciate it, Tim. Thanks.
You've been listening to the New Radio Sports Network.